Welcome back to Punk Rock Theologian. Last week we looked at the idea of Jesus being a king, but also being so much more than we can even really wrap our minds around, much less normally think of. And I want to dig a little deeper on that because there's another side of this that we're real prone to overlook and almost purposely ignore. Psalm 18, starting at verse 8, says, "Smoke rose from his nostrils, consuming fire came from his mouth, burning coals blazed out of it. He parted the heavens and came down. Dark clouds were under his feet. He mounted the cherubim and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his covering, his canopy around him, the dark rain clouds of the sky. Out of the brightness of his presence, clouds advanced with hailstones and bolts of lightning." Now, I'm going to go ahead and admit I don't have the voice to really pull this one off. This needs like the epic movie announcer kind of voice to read this because this is an epic scene that's being described here. And I don't know what kind of circles you run in, but I don't know many Christians who see God this way. Honestly, if most of us saw a vision like that, we would assume it was evil. And just in case you think I'm just picking one obscure thing, let me give you another one. Psalm 97, starting in verse 2. "Clouds and thick darkness surround him. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. Fire goes before him and consumes his foes on every side. His lightning lights up the world. The earth sees and trembles. The mountains melt like wax before the Lord of all the earth." This is our God. This is just the sheer scale and magnitude of his power, of who he really is. I don't even have a really good word for it because, frankly, the word should be awesome. That's what that word originally meant. But we use that to describe pizza anymore. But this is God, the same God who loved us and gave himself for us is the God with fire coming from his mouth that consumes his enemies on every side, and clouds and darkness surround him with bolts of lightning and hailstones. Let's go ahead and admit that this is a far cry from what we saw last week in Psalm 104 that inspired this beautiful worship song. And he wraps himself in light. Now we see him literally wrapping himself in darkness. And if your concept of God can't include both extremes, the problem is on your end. God is both. And it's not like he's one when he's in a good mood and in the other when he's angry. God is entirely both at all times because he is never anything halfway. And so this is the king that we were talking about last week. This is who he is. And there's going to come a day when he returns to earth as that king. He's not going to come in with a cuddly little lamb. He's going to come in power and majesty. And the purpose of our life today is to prepare us for that day. This is what Romans 14 teaches us, starting at verse 10, where it says, "Remember, we will all stand before the judgment seat of God. For the scriptures say, 'As surely as I live, says the Lord, every knee will bend to me, and every tongue will declare allegiance to God.' Yes, each of us will give a personal account to God." You see, Jesus is the King, clothed in majesty, and one day every knee will bow before him. The critical thing is making your choice now. Worship him with your life now, so that when you see him coming in power and splendor beyond anything you can imagine, that'll be something to celebrate, not this terrifying vision of wrath and destruction. Jesus has all of that power. Nothing is going to water that down. But whether that power is coming for you or coming against you makes all the difference.